Divorce papers in my hand, I stood there in silence. My husband sat satisfied, his mistress smug. They had no idea that when a woman finds her true self, she doesn't make noise, she quietly changes everything. What I did next left everyone watching in shock. The divorce papers were pressed between my fingers, and I was looking at them as if they were some receipt with my name printed on it by mistake. The fading orange of the Atlanta evening was slipping through the window of our small apartment, and my husband, Dane, leaned against the arm of the couch, not nervous, not guilty, just sitting there in a strange kind of calm. Beside him, his girlfriend, Summer, was checking her nails on her phone screen as if I were a forgotten delivery she'd finally decided to open without much interest. There was no screaming, no accusations, no fight. Everything was so quiet that I could hear my heartbeat pounding louder than anything else. Dane said a stiff, formal sentence. "It's better this way, Maddie. We're both exhausted." But his voice didn't carry the exhaustion he claimed. It carried indifference. Like he was finally setting down a burden he never wanted to carry. I looked at him, and for the first time, it hit me that this man had never truly seen me. I was the one juggling 3 jobs, paying down student loans, budgeting until midnight the night before rent was due, and still reassuring him, "We'll be fine." But we were never fine. I was the one stitching everything together so it wouldn't collapse. Summer snapped her purse shut and smiled as she said, "She'll sign. She knows it's over. Right, Maddie?" Her voice had that brand of kindness people use when they're mocking you. I studied her carefully for the first time. She believed she had won. Maybe she had, so far. I glanced at the papers, then at the two of them. "Sure," I said softly. "I'll sign." Dane nodded, confident he knew me. But he didn't know me anymore. I wasn't the woman who used to panic if he even looked frustrated for 20 minutes. I had become someone who could stay completely silent and still change the entire story. I had work the next morning, but I didn't sleep at all that night. Rent receipts, power bills, medical insurance emails, everything sat in front of me like a small mountain. I knew expenses would rise after the divorce. I knew starting over wouldn't be easy. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of the life I'd been living with Dane, the kind of life where I existed, but barely. The next morning, I didn't quit my job, but I made a choice. From now on, my time would go only into things that might actually change my life. I registered for night classes at community college, the same ones Dane always called a waste of time. I quit one of my part-time jobs and started driving Uber so I could at least control my hours. The money wasn't great, but the freedom was. And freedom, I was learning, is worth more than income. A week later, Dane texted, "You forgot to send your part of the rent. Need it by tonight." I replied, "I moved out." I attached the receipt from the apartment manager. My name had already been removed from the lease. I had freed myself, truly freed myself. 2 weeks later, I was sitting outside a library, drinking coffee before class, when Summer suddenly appeared in front of me. The confidence she once carried was nowhere in sight. She said, "He's been a mess. He thought you'd beg to stay." I didn't laugh. I just sipped my coffee. "People change," I said. "Even the women he thinks will crumble." My answer surprised her. She went quiet before finally saying, "He said you were nothing without him." For the first time, I felt something close to pity for her. "You'll learn, just like I did," I told her gently. "Men who say that are usually nothing without the woman they're trying to break." That night, while driving Uber, I picked up a ride outside a local neighborhood clinic, and it was Dane. His shirt was wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes, and he was holding a small box that probably had a few clothes in it. He climbed into the back seat and didn't recognize me at first. Then he jolted. "Maddie, what the hell, you drive now?" I adjusted the mirror and buckled up. "Yeah. Pays the bills. Gives me time." He didn't respond for a moment, then asked quietly, "You doing okay?" I looked at him. For the first time in years, he seemed powerless. "I'm doing better," I said honestly. "Way better than when I was with you." He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something but couldn't. I dropped him at a friend's house. He stepped out of the car like something sharp had pierced his spine, like he finally understood what he had lost. A month later, I got a small typing job through the community college. They needed someone to write social media posts for their website. I never imagined anyone would use my writing, but they did. It was the tiniest victory, but it was mine. Maybe this was what people mean when they say American miracle. A moment so small you could miss it, yet so real it changes you. On the day the divorce was finalized, I stood outside the courthouse with my hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, watching traffic move through the city. I felt no emotional weight, no resentment, no anger. Just a strange, fresh breeze inside me, like my lungs had finally expanded after years of shallow breathing. Dane walked out behind me, messy, confused, and now a man who had neither the woman he thought he'd won nor the home built on my sacrifice. He stepped closer and said, "You really changed." I smiled and answered, "I finally recognized myself." And that was my real victory. I slipped the papers into my purse, swung my bag over my shoulder, and walked toward the street. My silence had undone everything he once believed he controlled. And I knew this was only the beginning. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach others who may need them. Thank you for spending your time here, for listening with an open heart, and for being part of this growing community.